Hi, I'm Dan, and this is the Service Design Show, episode number 243.
Does it ever feel like you're trying to play chess, thinking 3 moves ahead, but your organization just wants to play checkers, demanding the next fastest move? Today, we are exploring that exact tension, looking at why design as a profession feels under siege, and what it might take to start creating real value again, instead of just extracting it. Finding a path through that very challenge is what our conversation today is all about. Hi, if you're new here, welcome to the Service Design Show, where we invite the brightest minds in our field to explore what is truly needed to design great services that resonate with people, push businesses forward, and honor our planet. Our guest today is Dan Saffer, whose 25-year career has given him a perspective very few can match. When asked what he wished he had known sooner, his answer was simple: you don't have to be great at everything. That wisdom has never been more critical than it is today, as AI gets better and better at doing everything related to production work. This forces us to get crystal clear on the very few things we do need to be great at: the strategy, the problem framing, and the creativity that machines can't replicate. And figuring out what those few crucial things are that we need to double down on is exactly what we are digging into today. So in this conversation, you'll hear about the critical shift from value creation to the value extraction that is squeezing our work. How we accidentally trapped ourselves by becoming identified with our tools like Figma or journey maps. Why today's economic pressure to just ship it is actually a huge opportunity for design to shine. What is still needed for the AI wave to start demanding a more human-centered design approach. And why courage might be the single most important and missing ingredient needed to reclaim our value. What I found powerful in this conversation is how it reframes the current anxiety about AI into a genuine opportunity. For years, we have fought for a strategic seat, and now this existential crisis might just be the catalyst we need to finally move beyond pure execution. It's a classic case of never letting a good crisis go to waste. Whether you are feeling apprehensive about AI or you are looking for ways to leverage this moment, this conversation provides a much needed dose of perspective and maybe most of all, hope. I am your host, Mark Fontijn, and this is the Service Design Show. Welcome to the show, Dan.
Welcome. Thank you. Glad to be here.
You are like one of my Adaptive Path Pokemon cards. I've already collected quite a few. You are still on the collection. Your adaptive paths, they are quite far behind, right?
I'm a rare card to catch. Yes, I left Adaptive Path in 2008. So so almost 22 years ago or 23 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, quite a ways.
It's actually 17 if my math is correct.
Oh, you're right. I can't do math right. Yeah, 17. I went backwards. It's still a while. Yeah, it seems like 4 lifetimes ago.
Oh gosh, yeah. I remember, and we recently got reconnected somehow on LinkedIn, and I do remember my journey in service design started around 2007, and in those early days, you had like a beautiful presentation at a conference. I think it was lying using design research. Do you recall that one?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I had a whole series of those, like lying with design strategy, lying with design research, and lying with design thinking was the other one. And And the design research one was definitely the best of them, because I think because it was new, like everyone was like surprised by it. Like no one knew what was going to happen, and they're like, "Wait a minute!" And then it became it became a thing, and so I should do more of those because they're really funny. People remember them. Um, lots of jokes.
Yeah, this was in the days when Twitter was still up and coming. Was really, I think you could get away really easily just by duplicating the content today and talking about design research. No, seriously, nobody would notice. And if I've watched the presentation a few times. If people haven't yet, I'll add the link in the show notes. It was really good.
Yeah, now you just have AI make up all the fake facts and stuff. So for sure.
That lying using AI, but that is almost like an oxymoron because that's what's happening all the time. Anywho,
right.
We're going to address a very lighthearted, superficial topic today. Then we're going to explore the state of design. So let's start. How would you describe the current state of design then?
Oh boy. I will say this. I think I am seeing signs of life happening. I am seeing more hiring happening. I'm seeing more discussion about the state of things, and not as many people running scared just because the job market is so terrible and everyone is just clutching onto kind of what they have and hoping that they're not going to get laid off. But I think that design as a profession, and I'm specifically kind of talking about UX or product design here, is and kind of has been under siege for a while. I think we had kind of a big ramp up into the um, into the pandemic times, and then as we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years, that big crash where massive numbers of people have been laid off. They've cut senior management. The management that exists now all has to be player coaches. No one's hiring junior designers. So I think that the profession is going it's going through some things, and I think at the same time we're seeing this push down for extracting as much value as we can from our users and not providing as much value back to them. So it's like, how much more can we squeeze from people without doing anything more, without enhancing their lives in a meaningful way? And that's just different from how it was when I started my career years ago. There was some kind of hope that we would be providing more value than we were getting in, like like profit and success and all those things was all about providing really good value and giving people these tools that they otherwise wouldn't have had. And and now it feels like that part has gone away, and it feels like design has devolved into a kind of into a tactical partner, not a strategic partner. That kind of product management is more ascendant than design. They've taken over some of the design and product strategy that we used to do, and now we've been lowered on the on the stack to people that execute on Jira tickets. And that is not a place that you want to be with AI coming out, because AI will be able to do all those things. So I think we have some things to figure out, and and some repositioning that we as a group of people need to be able to do for sure.
All right. Well, let's do some figure outing to do together in this episode. I could
Let's
have picked.
solve. We can
Let's
solve all
solve.
the problems here
We'll solve it.
in the
Stick
next
with
50
us. In
minutes.
45 minutes, you'll have all the answers.
Right.
I wanna get some clarification and better understanding on the value extraction and value creation aspect. So, in my perspective, businesses have always been about value extraction and optimizing generating higher return on investments. So I would be very curious to hear from you, like what do you feel is a prime example where we tried to focus on value creation? And if I fill in sort of an example, was it in the days, for instance, when we said, here is Twitter, and let's create a global hive mind of knowledge? Like, what is that? Was that a direction that you were thinking of, or something completely different?
Yeah, I mean, we can use something like Twitter or I mean, the one I think about a lot is Facebook. And Facebook, for whatever you think of it now, and I don't think much of it, just to lay my cards out on the table, um, Facebook did start with a well, if we talk about, if we get rid of the actual Facebook part, where it was like, doing a hot or not for college women or whatever it was. If we start from kind of where it launched as Facebook, it was about connecting people, and some, and around, the 2010-ish, it really, I think, was a very powerful connector. Um it connected groups, it connected families, it connected people. You could get your news from it. You could do all these things with it. And now, if the Facebook of 2010 and the Facebook of 2025 are completely different. Now, if you go on, it is extremely hard. Although they have put a new thing in, so they have put a new navigation so that you can just see your friends. But if you just go in raw into the raw feed, it is just filled with AI slop at this point. It is just filled with engagement bait, fake stories, fake news, fake, um, you name it, and none of it is, or a small sliver of it is your actual connections. And so for me, that is all. They said, we're not getting enough value from just making this the best connector that it possibly can be. What are other things that we could be doing that keep people on the platform, so we can show them more ads, we can squeeze more money out of them? And while I agree that, I mean, businesses, exist to make money, to make a profit. But I also agree with, I think it's Michael Porter, who was like, um, profit is a byproduct of providing value. And I think that has changed from that to like, hey, no, we're just going to try to, like, we don't want to give you any more value, or what's the cheapest thing we could do that seems like value but really isn't, so that we can extract more, out of you, without really improving your life in any meaningful way. And I think, Cory Doctorow, calls, this is the kind of enshittification cycle that he sees that that he named that we're kind of in. And so for me, I'm like, wow, this is, uh, once for me, like having started my career, 20 plus years ago, it was all like, what things could we give users to do that they couldn't do before? What are the things that they can, it was almost like handing out superpowers, where you're just like, hey, do this, you can do this now, or hey, you have this, you can, and it felt like it was all about how do we give you things that are really really important to you, really make whatever task that you're doing better, make things more usable, make things more. And now it doesn't feel like that as much
Mm.
anymore. It feels more like what what button can we convince users to press over and over again so that we get better metrics, and that feels icky.
I think we all recognize this, and probably part has to do with the fact that a lot of these companies have venture-backed capital that at some point needs to be returned. They went public, so we have shareholders instead of us users being the actual stakeholders. So those things are happening, have happened, keep on happening. What's the role of design? How do you see design fitting into this narrative?
Well, it's interesting. Uh, I think, like I was saying before, like design has become a cog in this machine, and it is, and kind of where we're at right now is that, yeah, that we are kind of, helping turn the crank of the wheel of this machine. Um, where I would hope that we would reorient or re-aim ourselves back to is how do we start, as John Reinfrank, the late great designer, once said, tricking businesses into doing the right thing.
Mm.
Are there ways that we could be finding places, and I'm talking even very small places, to add more value back in? Can we, even though we are often not in charge of kind of the big things, are there ways that we could be adding value even at a small task level by making the design, making the product better than it needs to be? Are there ways that we could be tweaking it? And by product, I also, of course, mean service. We're on the service design show. Everything is a service now. Um, by by making each little bit better than it needs to be, to make it smooth, make it work well. Um, integrate AI into it to make it smarter, and all these things that we could be doing, kind of not on the product strategy level, although I definitely think that we should be aiming more on the product strategy level. But we can also be doing this kind of from the get-go, from when we, when we start working on a product, how do we figure out the ways to actually make things really valuable? And I know and I don't want to say from my ivory tower that people aren't doing this already, because I'm sure there are. And I'm sure there are people that are getting kind of swatted down, like, well, we don't want that. We wanted the thing that we told you to make. But I think, some of what we need to be doing is convincing people, even if it's people that aren't, that aren't senior executives, but convincing our teammates, convincing our other things, that the way that we're trying to aim the product is towards
Yeah.
creating more user value. Not to say not to cut out business value, but to just rebalance again.
Well, you mentioned AI already a few times, and you sort of were giving the examples a minute ago, and I was thinking like on the web, we sort of nowadays assume that as accessibility is given, but it wasn't in the early days. And you could say like if you are a decent UX professional, UI professional, you obviously take accessibility into account. That is just like a professional standard, hopefully nowadays.
Yes, for sure.
Um, and that is maybe also what you were hinting upon. Like if we project forward and we have AI as our design material, uh, sure, we could integrate AI into our services, but we could also argue for the fact that we need to integrate AI in an ethical and moral way. Those two things aren't explicit, right? Is that, again, a question mark, the thing that you're hinting towards?
Yeah, I mean,
Raising the bar in that
yeah,
sense?
I mean, I think that yes, I think that in the next couple of years, as we start to really, and I think we're kind of at this point right now where we're starting to understand what AI is good and what AI is not that good at, and I think I like to think of us as being we're at the uh, we're at the 2010 year where mobile came out, and the iPhone came out in like 2010 or 2007 or
Mm-hmm.
8.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple years to work with it, and it's like, okay, well, now we're not trying to recreate the desktop on mobile. Now we can start doing some mobile first things, and this is how we get things like Uber, for instance, is like that could not have been done on a desktop or shouldn't have been done on a desktop. um so we start to so and I think that's kind of where we're at right now, is like, oh, okay, we're starting to see what AI is actually good at, and how do we start to incorporate that strategically into our products. And of course that means, well, not of course, I guess, in these times, but that would also mean incorporating it ethically and understanding what the consequences are of AI misbehaving, of AI doing false positives, false negatives, where it's offering up the wrong answer, or it's offering up things that are like a hallucination, or any of those kinds of things where it's like, well, this is not right, or and users may not even detect that something is wrong, and then it's out there. So I mean, I think that, yeah, I think that the next places that designers can one of the places that designers can be adding value is to start figuring out the places where AI can be used to make the products smarter, more efficient, and more personalized. I think that's kind of where things are at right now, and I think that that is a place where we can start being like, hey, you know what? If we add a little bit of AI right here, we're going to be able to drop 5 steps in this flow, and we're going to make more money. Users are going to be happier. Like, how about if we do that? How about if, so trying to find like little moments there to make these adaptive UIs um, that are more efficient and more personalized.
Lots to process, which is good. Um, but I want to go back for a moment
Sure, sure.
to something you said about that design sort of has lost its strategic influence. I feel if I look back at the last 15 years, which I also closely were part of design, it feels like we had a very small window of opportunity to actually be strategic before.
Yeah.
Because like in the 2010s, 2005, the narrative around design was mostly about design is like the lipstick on a pig. That is how it was used, like make it pretty. It's still being
Mm-hmm.
used in that sense. And
Right.
That narrative was in place for a very long time, and then I don't know how long, like let's say 10 years, design started shifting and become more strategic. I don't know why. Maybe companies had more money. There was
Well,
zeitgeist. Yeah,
I mean, I think at that time we started to. I mean, IDEO did us all a great service and started,
initially.
initially,
Yeah,
proselytizing design thinking,
yeah, yeah.
and suddenly design was on the cover of Business Week and
HBR.
Fast
Yeah,
Company and
yeah,
those kind of
yeah,
places, and so we suddenly had visibility at the C-suite in a
yeah,
way that we did not.
yeah, yeah. We're still paying the price for the way that was positioned. But I agree, we sort of made it to the front cover of the Harvard Business Review, and I recall actually buying a physical copy of that one because that was a monumental moment in the design space.
Yeah.
Um, so what had like well, see, and then we lost it. Like, and it so slowly eroded away. How do we get
I
it back? Do we need to have another HBR article, which will we regret in 10 years' time again?
Sure, I think there is something like, I mean, we also were missing our business design advocate in someone like a Steve Jobs, who said design isn't just how it
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
looks, it's how it works. And that is and we don't really have that, or really have um that kind of um
Role model. Yeah.
that kind of role model. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. We
Yeah.
don't we don't really have that as much anymore. Even Apple doesn't have Jonathan Ives anymore.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. So yeah, so I
Okay.
think we
Yeah.
definitely lost some of the mojo. And the other thing that I think really happened, and this is no shade at all to them because I think it's a fantastic tool, is that the tools became better, and we got things like Sketch first, and then we got Figma,
Yep.
and Figma's great. It's a great tool. It is, however, it
Yeah.
is a UI tool. It is not a user experience or design tool.
It's not a
It,
strategy tool.
it is not a strategy tool
Yeah.
at all.
It's an operational tool. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's a tactical tool. And
Yeah.
again, no shade to them. I love Figma. I think I can't imagine going back to
Sure.
doing pre Figma work. It made things like um design systems and stuff like that, which were fairly theoretical, um at least in
Mm.
our
Mm-hmm.
world before that, or you were swapping these design system files between people. It made that a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And but the problem is that the industry and our partners started to think of design as Figma. We
Yep.
started to think of it as the tool. And I think we also internalize that. Like, we're like, well, I work in Figma.
Yep. Yeah.
This is what I do. Um, and I think that's I think that's a mistake. I think
Yeah.
that is we reduced ourselves to this. And even if you look right now in the United States, I mean, how many um you all in Europe have many big good user experience service design conferences. Here we have a couple small uh user experience conferences, and then we have config, which is an
Yeah.
enormous
Yeah. Yeah.
20,000 person uh
Yeah.
giant thing. And I think that just speaks volumes. Like it ate all the conferences in the same way it kind of ate the profession. And again, no shade to Figma. Of course, it was going to do what it wasn't designed to be a design strategy tool. It was designed to make doing the production part of design a lot easier. But as I keep telling my students, that is the part that is most likely to go away. That is the part that is, the in several years' time, the heaviest user of Figma in your design system is going to be an AI.
For sure. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so we abdicated the design strategy and product strategy part, and I think we need to get that back, either from the bottom up, where, like I said, individual designers can start to make choices and
Mm.
try to advocate for those kind of from the bottom up level. And then design leaders, the ones that are left, can really try to provide cover for them, or try to provide enough space for us to do actual design work. So I think it's got to be both, um, because it would be great if we could work within the systems where design is valued, where there's a lot of design maturity. But we're not all going to be in that. We've never as a profession been in that position at every place. I mean, there's still tons of places with very low design maturity, and we just have to be better, at the bottom level stuff too. We have to be better than AI there to come up with better solutions, more value, different streams of value, different ways that, and just better ways to do the things that people, so that people want to use our product or service.
It's like such a paradox, or like a trap, because if I make the parallel to the world of service design, like for us, it wasn't maybe Figma, it were workshops and workshop facilitation, and the output might
Mm,
have been a journey map. Like everybody was doing workshops at some point, and you become
yes.
self-identified not as the strategist, but as the person who knows how to host and run a workshop session. Um, and then at the end, you have a beautiful brown paper poster with a, I don't know,
Right.
whatever canvas you use.
Yeah, a whole, yeah.
That is or was the thing for this specific field. And another thing with um, things like Figma, and I think you're absolutely right that we sort of became self-identified with the tool, is that it democratized a specific craft. It made it more accessible, and therefore more people came in, and the strategists sort of got share outnumbered. So most people who do Figma are just loving the craft, and like, just as you have coders who just love to code, you had people who love to create very visually appealing interfaces. But
Mm-hmm.
then the few strategists that were left, like now suddenly they have 10,000 people working alongside with them using the same sort of brand of UX, right? Oh gosh,
Sure.
yeah.
I mean, product managers can easily go into Figma and make interfaces now. Um,
So
and
yeah,
uh, yeah, for real.
so then now it feels like we are very lucky because we're getting another opportunity to have another shot at this with the whole AI thing. What do we learn from our past? Like, how do we make sure that we do not become either self-identified with knowing how to use, I don't know, Gemini CLI or Cloud Codex, or no, it's OpenAI, or that we become sort of recognized for putting out whatever the artifact in this case will be? How do we prevent the mistakes from the past?
I think one thing in our favor here is that the existential crisis to us in our profession is in our face right now. We can see you can see the end game if nothing changes very easily, where it's like, well, AI is just going to do this. Whereas I don't think with Figma that was the case.
Mm.
It was a slow incremental kind of land grab over 8 or 9 years. So it was just a um, it was a rolling thing that where we didn't even realize that this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
With AI, it's like, ooh, hey, whoa, this thing can do this, and now it can do this, and now it can do this. And it's pretty easy to say A plus B equals C here, and with C being, oh, hey, it's soon going to be able to take over a lot of the production parts of my job. And so I hope that that is a wake up call for people that, design leaders and design practitioners, in that they have to change some of these skills that they are some of the skills that they are used to only used to being at least identified by. Like, you should, your skill should not only be identified by how well you can do Figma. um you have got to be, and I tell my students this all the time, you've got to be better than the AI. The AI is going to come up with the the straight down the middle solution here. It's gonna take the product requirements and assume that they are correct and that is the real problem it is solving. Instead, we need to be like, well, what's the real problem that's being solved here? We're doing some kind of, problem framing and reframing. And then we have to be creative and come up with the best solution for that may not be obvious. And it doesn't mean that we can't use AI in either of those cases to help do those things. But I think blindly accepting requirements and blindly accepting AI output is just a recipe for disaster for us. So I think we need to come to terms with that. We have to get back to more of the you you excuse me, the UX part of the job, and not lean so heavily on the UI part of the job, um, to really get to the kind of emotional core problem solving flows, um, and and really framing the problem and understanding the context so that the solutions that we come up with really work well for the context, that it feels like this is better than, that this is better than what the AI could have come up with, because we know so much more about this area or our users or the task or et cetera, et cetera.
So, yes, and this is the story I've been hearing for the last 20 years, that this is what we're good at, that this is what we do, that this is the value that we provide. I actually see that the appetite for this is just declining because the tools allow us to iterate faster, and the
Yeah.
decisions a lot of organizations make are focused on, well, the what is it, let break stuff, and what is it, break stuff,
Move fast and break things. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that sort of decreases again the appetite to do proper research, to sort of spend more time in the problem space to understand what's really going
Right.
on. Like, let's just puts something out there. It's cheap with AI. It's fast with AI. If it doesn't work, we'll figure out. So, man,
Yeah, I mean,
stuff.
and Andy Budd talks about this a lot, where he talks about designers love to play chess, but the but businesses just want to play checkers.
Mm-hmm.
Where it is, where you're like, ooh, chess, I'm going to ponder and make all these, I'm going to think 3 moves ahead, and business is just like, well, I'm just going to make a move.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and AI really lets us do that. Um, and I think I, I mean, I'm trying to find kind of the third way here, which is, where we, where we can use the AI tools to go faster, but it is almost like the Einstein saying, where if he had an hour to do something, he would think about it for 55 minutes and then spend 5 minutes doing the thing. I want us to get more into that rather than let's do iteration after iteration after iteration after iteration. Um, because that, uh, I mean, even though stuff gets faster and I can definitely see this working if you're a startup without an established user base. Like, you can do these kinds of fast iterations and no one cares. But if you have an established user base and you're just throwing shit at them, I just don't. I think that over time you're damaging the experience, and I think this is also kind of what we're seeing. Excuse me, what we're seeing now with like Facebook, and where it's like, well, let's just throw this out there and see if anyone complains about it, and that's not the same thing as having a thoughtful solution to the problem. um i I mean, there's no
Yeah.
great answer to this,
Yeah.
but um but I do think that there is something there, that we need to find a way to use these tools that can make these things so fast, that can make these things um, so rapidly, and use them to our advantage, because it gives us more time to do the thing that we should be doing, which is the strategy, the thinking, the coming up with different possible, being able to come up with many different possibilities, and having our professional judgment be like, ooh, this one is really interesting versus this one, which is kind of clunky. um I hope that there's something there that we can latch onto and figure out from a process way that is not this I think what people have balked at is this enormous design research into thinking into wireframes, into this kind of like really long design process, when they're like, yeah, of course we could just make this stuff. We have prototypes by the end of the day with this. But I do think something is lost, and I think users feel that, and I think we're all cheapened for it in the long run.
So, do you feel that it's a sign of the times that currently, I don't know, the economic climate might just not be favorable to investing in value creation, although you cannot save your way out of a crisis. So, if anything, you should be investing more. But like, there's such a ship it mentality, and let's just survive today and not worry about next year. Um,
Right. I think that is definitely contributing to it for sure.
so do we
Where
just keep our heads down and wait?
No, I think I think we don't. What's the like strike while the iron is hot? Like,
Mm,
but no, but we should actually make the iron hot by striking. That's a very convoluted metaphor, um, but yeah, no, I think we have to again, and I think maybe this is a subversive um, kind of resistance that we should be trying to add value to, again, as trick trick our organizations into doing the right thing by creating things of value and demonstrating that how much better they are. And
mm,
again, this is also where AI can help. Hey, you
yeah.
can have a prototype up super fast, and here it is. Isn't this much better than you can build both now, and be like, here's the one, here's the other. What uh which one of these do you think is the better one? I think we can also there's the old trick um of kind of now, next, and North Star, where it's like, okay, well, this is what we can, this is the vision, this is North Star, but in order to get there, we should do now, we should do fast, because companies aren't no one or I would say it's pretty rare, the people who are getting lots of time to like think and do things for long periods of time now are like AI researchers. Like if you work at DeepMind or something, you're getting time and resources and whatever you want. We are not in that bucket. um so we have to act in we have to act in quarterly thinking, but keep our eye on the vision. And that's hard because we're constantly being told, do this now, now. Um, and this is where design leadership can help, being like, hey, we need to think about what this is going to be 2 steps from now, or helping to sell that vision across multiple parts of the company, or whatever, whatever it is, to give designers on the ground space in order to do that. um but yeah, it's and I'm like i'm 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 preaching to the choir, and I'm underselling how how difficult this actually is to do in real life in these conditions. But I think we have to. I think we have to demonstrate our value, not not always be talking about how valuable we are. I think we have to be like, whoa, this is people have to be able to be like, wow, this is a
Yeah.
better solution than I would have
Yeah.
thought of.
Well, there was a thing that was going to through my mind, like in moments where resources are scarce, which it feels like it is right now, making smarter, better decisions is even more valued. And I think we design in general is very well equipped in creative problem solving. So give us some constraints and we'll come up with something that is actually useful and helpful. So if there's abundance and there's plenty of money, it's too easy to do this stuff. It's much more interesting to do it in times when like yeah, you don't have all the resources and every decision that you make counts. So like you said, I think this is actually a huge opportunity to rise up to the occasion and show that that we are contributing. And why
Right.
isn't it happening? So what's missing? What's the piece of the puzzle that isn't yet in place?
Courage, maybe.
Mm-hmm. To do what?
To take risks, to try to push things forward. I mean, I think people are worried about their jobs, about losing their jobs, about um
Mm.
about and so nobody wants to get laid off. And so I think there's a lot of I'm going to keep my head down and just keep doing what I'm doing and try to do that as best as I can. Um, but but also that, I mean, that's all, again, this is easy for me to say from my ivory tower where I'm not in the trenches as much anymore. Um, but it but yeah, I mean, it's hard to say like what's the magic spark that is going to um that's going to ignite
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
new revolution,
Yeah.
and maybe we're already sitting on it with AI, and we're just it's this
Mm. Yeah.
the whatever the saying is, never let a good crisis go to waste,
Mm-hmm.
or or from Game of Thrones, chaos is a ladder. Like, should we be taking this moment and really trying to reimagine what our role should be here in this kind of AI world. And I think, I mean, like I
Mm.
said, I think at the beginning of the podcast, I do see glimmers of this. I do see a lot of people experimenting. I do see a lot of people um, trying new ways of working in a way that I haven't seen in a while, and that's heartening to me. That's people are trying to wrestle with this new technology and what they can do with it, and I think it I think we just have to think about it from a more meta level rather than at the, hey, is this going to help me do, I don't know, this is going to help me do user research faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, can we think of it like, what is it going to do at a profession level or across both the entire process level? What does it allow us to do, knowing that we would like to do more of this stuff, or the design strategy and design thinking kind of stuff versus the design execution stuff.
Yeah. And that thing, that spark, that is guaranteed that it will come. Again, looking back at where you and I are coming from, we mentioned the IDEO article. We had the business model canvas book that also sort of
Yeah.
fueled, accelerated this thing. We don't yet know what this will be for AI times design, but times business. Something is going to come out. Something will happen. Something will say, and there will be generated a lot more interest.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the, I mean, now
Mm.
that you're mentioning it, like that article and the business canvas and a lot of that stuff came out around 2010,
Exactly.
when there was a big technological shift, the same era that we're in right now.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think some
Mm.
of it is that design can help fit, and this is something that I've rode my entire career on. Basically, is design can help figure out what new technologies are good at and help users make mental models to make them help people integrate these things into their lives and how they work and what they're good for and all those things. And that's that's what design is really good at. You can tell that the interfaces that were originally like put out
Yeah.
for some of these things were not designed by designers. They were.
But maybe that's the thing we're missing then. We haven't
Hmm?
yet seen enough um, AI applications gone wrong. So I think the
Hmm.
moment, just like with,
We've seen a lot of AI go wrong, I
well,
think.
maybe not painful enough. And I think there will be a demand from the industry to actually start understanding how to use AI in a human, responsible, ethical way once they have seen a few warning shots and a miss. I don't know, misrepresentations by other companies. And that will be the cue for us to make sure that the story that we keep on telling is that we are there for making sure that this is used in a human ethical way, and not about, oh, we've got a new tool, Figma, whatever it is, journey mapping tool, and get sucked and drawn into that.
I think it will be interesting if one of these kind of big players
Yeah.
falls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that, I mean, we've talked about Meta this whole time, and I know that they're sweating it, and I know that that's why they're offering people these insane salaries to because they're
Yeah.
they're sweating it. I would be surprised if XAI Elon Musk thing is not sweating it too, or smaller, smaller places like Claude, Anthropic. Although Anthropic is apparently going well, um, but yeah, it right now all these things are propped up by billions and billions and billions of dollars. But if that were to change, like a market crash or something else, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that's when, like, whoa, well, maybe we should have done some more design or some product differentiation here, or
Yeah. So what we're seeing again and again, and this will be a carbon copy of the technologies that came before this, is initially it is tech driven, right? There is an invention, something cool has come up, everybody adopts the technology. The human aspect is almost always lagging, right?
yes.
And that's what we're going to see here as well. We will be second in line after everybody has jumped on the technology bandwagon, and some have failed, and then people will start asking questions, and the questions will not be about the technology but about the people using the technology.
I mean, I forget there's like a staggering statistic that's something like 90% of people who have tried one of these AI, um, one of the big AIs, have tried it once and that's it.
Mm.
And they're like, this isn't for me, because there's no use. They don't see the use case there for them, and so so that could be. I mean, that's the gap that we step into. Where it's like, well, you have these needs. The system can do these things. How do we let you know that you can do these things and and ergo solve your goal, or not? Maybe this is the wrong tool for you. The system can do these things. You want to do this, but this is not the right tool for you.
So
Yeah.
we started out by me asking you a question about the state of design.
Mhm.
Where do you hope will, like, if we do this conversation in 2 years' time, what do you hope to say as a reflection to that question in 2 years' time?
I mean, what would be awesome would be, yeah, that if one of these one of the many AI systems does become a design first or design led rather than AI tech led, and see what happens. Watch, does it change how people's perception is, where they're like, wow, that feels different, that works different, that product is differentiated. And why is that? Oh, because of design, because design strategy is here. I would love to have an example of that,
Mm-hmm.
especially if the CEO is like, yes, we invested heavily in design, and that is
Yeah.
why this product and service looks and acts the way it does, because we invested heavily in design. Um, I would love to see more more design leadership. I would
Yeah.
love to see more, just more. Just, I mean, I'm desperate for people to hire the designers that we're training. To start bringing in some of the fresh, new folks who have good ideas and are eager and hopeful, and they want their shot to change the world too. And we should let them. We should bring them in. It's sad that the spigot for hiring junior designers is you know almost all the way off, and they're they're great. They're coming in. They have fresh perspectives. They have they're definitely. I mean, they're beyond. I mean, they're beyond digital natives. They they know. I mean, they have
They make you
they've
feel
been
old.
well, sure, of course, but that's nothing new. Yeah, I mean, but they make me feel hope too, because they have a lot of energy and a lot of like, hey, let's fix this. We they want to tackle these problems. They're not old and crusty like me,
Mm.
and just be like, yeah, this is, God, this is going to be so hard, because I pushed that rock up the hill several times now, but they can push it up now. They're strong. So I hope that is, if we're talking 2 years from now, I kind of hope there is a revitalization of design where people are seeing it, without us having to like preach about the value of design, where people are feeling it again. And by people, I mean our coworkers, colleagues, executives, but also our users. The average person is like starting to feel like, oh, that oh, this tech was meant for me, or this works better than I thought it would, or wow, this is such a breath of fresh air, and that
Mm.
this thing just lets me do the thing I want to do, and the AI is so helpful and doesn't get in my way, and all those kinds of things. I really want to see.
That's topic for another episode, but I feel that good design often gets out of the way, and therefore it's really hard to notice and recognize and actually point to good design.
It's true.
It's
That
intuitive,
is
it
one
is
of that.
seamless.
That is one of the flaws,
We're not recreating Disneyland, right? We're trying to make things just work in a way that fits our human nature. And when it
right.
does, feels you take it for granted, and when it doesn't, you sort of that's the moment you experience the lack of design.
Yes, for sure. And I think that one of the annoying things about AI right now is that it has become this layer that people often have to push through or get out of their way to do the
Mm,
work that they want to do, rather than
mm,
being thoughtfully integrated into it. And I think, again, that's where design can help be like, yeah, you know what? People don't actually need it here. They need it here in this point. Can we
yeah.
shift to here where it is going to be valuable, where it is not going to get in the way?
So I would encourage everybody who's listening to build their own library of AI failures, and where AI has been costing money, frustration, pain, stock markets prices going down. Like that will be your doorway in the coming years.
Yeah, and
That
you go
yeah.
look at the AI incident report is
Oh, there
is
we go.
also a
Yeah.
is also a great place to see, like,
And capture those things. Like,
great.
um, I think we should be more vocal about these things, and stating that this is what happens when you don't design for humans.
Yeah.
Anyway, then we need to wrap up. We
Yes,
need.
yes. This has gone long. Yeah,
It's
we had a lot to cover.
oh man, and we have so much more. But again, this will be for another episode. What we like to do here on the Service Design Show is look for better questions than we started with. So if you could leave us with one question we can think about after this episode, what would it be?
I would say, I mean, the simple, easy answer here is like, why is this happening? If you can always find the root to things, there's always something interesting there, right? Where you could say, you know, and even if it's like, why is this so bad? Like, why did this end up this way? It's not always because people are, I mean, is anyone setting out to make a terrible product? No, but people are trying to optimize for different things. They're trying to optimize for speed or time to market or whatever, just trying to, to optimize for shareholder price, those kinds of things. It's not because people want to do bad work or put out shoddy things. Usually sometimes people don't care, um, but trying to figure out, the why behind almost everything, will often lead you to um, some interesting places where you can apply design or reframe the problem or do any of those things that I think, just help you understand what's going on. I think all those things build up that curiosity muscle and the empathy muscle often as well too, because it's
Hmm.
like, why, why is that person acting so terribly, like, um that those are I think it's a helpful thing for all of us to ask at any given time.
Why is this happening? That's a good
Why
question.
is this happening?
Maybe that's going to be
So
the title for this episode. Who knows? um, Dan, if people want to find you, you're all over the internet, but nowadays, is there a place you could direct them to?
I am mostly on LinkedIn and Blue Sky these days. My students are also putting together a Medium magazine or a Medium publication called UI for AI, where uh, we're doing some independent study right now where we are documenting our explorations into new kinds of user interfaces to solve some AI problems. So that's been really fun to work with a group of 12 really smart master students and be like, go do here's some problems. Let's figure them out together. And so that's been great watching them starting to work on those things. And it's been fun to have this publication where we're kind of documenting everyone's progress. And right now, as we speak, we just came up with 24 different concepts that we're going to be combining and moving ahead with. So lots of interesting work up there to explore as we go along the next couple months.
Cool. We'll make sure to include all the links if people want to dive deeper into the AI design rabbit hole. Dan, this is all the time we really had for today. Thanks for coming on, sharing your wisdom. I'm looking forward to the next lying with design research or a variation of that. You have to
Right.
you have to come up with a sequel.
Yeah, lying with AI design. I don't know, something
Yeah,
like that.
make
Yeah,
something up. Ask AI to come
something.
up with something.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right.
So,
Dan, thanks
all
again
right.
for being here.
Oh no, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Hearing Dan reflect on the cycles of the last 25 years really puts our current anxiety into perspective. The tension between strategy and execution isn't new, but what feels different this time is the sheer scale of the technological shift with AI. It reminded me of the early days around 2010, another moment of huge change where design was needed most to find the human value in the new technology. A huge thanks to Dan for sharing his experience and giving us that much needed context. I'm left feeling that we have a real chance here to write a better next chapter for our practice. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, you can do me one big favor. Click the like button on this video and leave a short comment if you haven't done so already. not to feed the algorithms, but to let me know whether or not we are on the right track by addressing topics like this. Finally, before we part ways, please take a moment to reflect and celebrate that by joining us today, you have directed your attention towards learning and growing as a professional. So, from everyone who you are going to impact through your work, thank you for taking the time and making the commitment. My name is Mark Fontijn, and I look forward to having you with us again for a new conversation on the Service Design Show. Take care and see you soon.